out there tonight?
Whoa. You stumped me now.
Check out our website, mannimalresearch.com. Thanks to everybody. Hello. How's it going out there tonight? Hope everyone is doing well. And so glad you guys could join us. Those of you that will be catching it live tonight, those of you that will catch it later, we sure do appreciate it, guys. Want to say long time no see. We have taken a little bit of time off, about a month now. We haven't put out a new show, but we decided it was time to get back at it. I am actually live here, and I want to bring this up before we really get started. I am, I'm with my family up here in the Smoky Mountains. We rented a cabin for the week, so that's where I'm at. I'm on the back porch now. So I'm not on my computer. I'm doing this from my phone, so I'm hoping that the sound quality, everything is okay. You guys can hear me okay and all that. If not, holler at us at the comments and let us know. But like always, I am joined by my good buddy and my partner in crime, Mr. Derek Jasper Walls. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, man. Doing pretty good. Waiting on, been anxious to get back doing this a little bit. I've got some ideas still, like I said before. We're going to try to do something with the battlefield again. And probably, if she ain't asleep, probably going to try to do something tonight, do a couple of films, video with the phones, and try to get it emailed to you because it won't send it to Messenger. That way we can put it up for an episode or something. Do something. I don't know. It depends because I do have to get up early.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, man. Anything you can get, be happy to put up there.
For people. You think you'll be free the 8th of October?
Might be. What you got in mind?
Well, taking a family up to up to our little spot at Pigeon. And Greg's gonna be with me to back me up and everything. They Jen's friends that she babysits their kids, and he's anxious. Hey, when you gonna go back Bigfoot again and all this? And I said, well, you know what? Let's do it for the 8th. Says Jen's off. She wants to go because that's her second weekend of the month. So I said, well, let's go. Let's go up there. Well, he wants to go Bigfoot hunting too and camp out. And he's gonna bring his kids. I think it'll be pretty good because we'll set it up as basically a big gathering camp out. Normal. And then, me and him, I'll take him out or something, me and Greg or whatever and everything. But it'd be good if you come up there and,
Is that, I guess the 8th on a Saturday?
The 8th on a Friday. And then we're going to do it Saturday also. We're going to Friday, Saturday, and come back Sunday.
Yeah, man, as long as I got enough notice, I might be able to work that out. That sounds fun.
And if you can't, which I got the IR goggles. I'll probably come get the camera from you and set up. I'll try to do an episode with it. Maybe not live, but get some video stuff. And then put it on there like the camp out stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Speaking of the camp out, I guess you're talking about the Squatch out. We haven't been back on since that gathering, so we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Man, what an awesome time that really was fun, wasn't it?
It was. I love cooking for everybody, and that's the way I am. I liked it, and there was a lot of burgers. It's a good thing I brought my grill.
We ended up spending, $260 on food to cook for a little over 40 people.
Yeah, and that's not too bad. I really ain't too bad.
But I was expecting a lot worse, man. It wasn't bad. We had help. Our good buddy John pitched in, and some of our several of our followers that made the trip up pitched in and helped. So it wasn't all on us, and we appreciate that. But like I said, we had a little over 40 people, And of those 42, 43 people, we had 12 states represented.
Yep.
So, guys, I can't even begin to tell y'all how awesome that is to just to think about 12 different states in the U.S. came and participated in this thing in just a couple of months' notice. We threw this together in just a couple of months, and just a huge thank you and shout out to our buddy Old Bear and also Joe, Squatching Cowboy, and his partner Kenny for helping us get all of that set up. And we're not talking about just the southern states, you know.
Yeah.
But my buddy Rick flew in from Colorado,
Right.
and Joe's from Texas, so he drove for like 14 hours.
Yep.
Him and Kenny did to get here, and Louisiana was represented, and Ohio, and I believe Indiana, Oklahoma, and they came from everywhere, and it really, really was a good time.
Yeah, I want to. I know since it's our first show and everything, I'm sure a lot of you remember seeing our good friend Daryl. Definitely keep saying prayers for him and keep him in your minds and everything. And knowing that he put out there that he was retiring on Facebook and everything on our posts, and we wish him the best and everything. We hope. I'm hoping that he still sticks around with us and comes out and does some things with us as his good health, and we still would like to,
He posted that he retired, but I can't find that post no more.
Well, he might have changed his mind.
I don't know, man. I wish Daryl the best. I really do. He's a good friend of mine, and but he's talked before about wanting to retire. He said when he moved out here to Tennessee that he was going to retire, and then he changed his mind.
Yeah,
and he might have changed his mind again. I don't know, but I hope he did. I do.
I do. I like having him around, and he's got a good insight on some things. And it kind of felt bad I kind of felt bad in a little bit because him doing that, because I was like, dang, he didn't hear nothing about retiring until he had that big incident happen in the battlefield, and I kind of feel bad in a way because taking him out there and that.
I don't think that would have anything to do with it, man. Like I told you, he had talked about it before. He said that's why he was moving out here.
Right.
Because he was retiring. I'm like, you can't do that. You're moving from a good spot to another good spot.
Yeah.
No, you can't retire. And he didn't. He got involved with Mannimal, and he hasn't told me he's not gonna be involved with Mannimal. So I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to touch base on it. I mean, just touching base on it. It did say it, and if he did change his mind, that's great. I've checked on him here and there. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I know, when he told me about the heart stuff, I mean, I know my dad had it, and I know what things could be going on. So just wanted to put that out there. That way, everybody keeps him in mind, and that's why I think he explained that was why he left. So. And he wanted to stay with us, so I mean it sucks, but
yeah. Well, we guess I need to talk to him because, like I said, he hasn't told me that he's hanging them up. So, but if he has, you can't fault the man. He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Has you able to get our guest back yet?
Yeah, he's backstage. He's backstage.
All right.
We'll bring him on in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you, talk a little bit more about the Squatch Out. What is? I just wanted to ask you, what did you take away from it? Did you take anything away from it? And just what were your thoughts of the event?
What do you mean by take away? Like something?
Did you learn anything?
Really, I mean, I kind of did learn a little bit, seeing what Cowboy, them had this type of equipment. And I'm like, my mind's going trying to figure out, dang, what, we got to get something like that set up, something this and that. And plus the other guys that brought different things. It was an eye opener going, okay, we're really, I know our show's big or somewhat big, but seeing them, I'm going, okay, it's like we're a little minnow in a shark's pond. And I'm like, dang, he does a good job on this stuff. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Joe does. He
uh,
does. Joe spends a lot of time editing his shows, and Joe does has a different setup than we. We do
yeah.
more of a live thing, and every
Mhm.
once in a while we'll just shoot a short video in the field, and then we'll just put that video on. Joe shoots a bunch of videos and then edits
Yeah.
them and puts them together and stuff. So he's a little bit different than us. But yeah, there's a lot we can learn from Joe. And I'll agree with you on the equipment, man. I mean, they were flying a drone out there. I still want to get a drone for us. Well, we could get us a cheap drone, and that's probably what we'll start out with.
I
But
mean, we
man,
can
down
get
the
a
road,
decent one. We can get us a decent one. I mean, it won't have to be cheap, but we can get a decent one.
yeah,
That
it's a couple $100.
yeah,
But down the road, I want to get a an infrared,
yeah,
uh, yeah, a thermal drone.
right.
You know, and you can get one bottom of the line for like $2,000,
Mhm.
and that's like the cheapest that you can get. And $2,000 is a lot of money. So, but yeah, a drone is something I want to add, and a couple GoPros and stuff like that. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's one thing I took away from it too. That there's some good equipment out there that maybe we need to step up our game.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Other than that, I mean, that's probably about it. What I could take away.
A lot
I
of good
mean,
encounters. People talking about what was the nine? Flat Rock Booger had some
mhm.
good audio out there. It's cool to meet him. Um, yeah, there's a lot of really good stories, encounters, and stuff that went on. So, there was a few things that I learned.
Yeah,
It was a good time. It really was.
and we got. I know that me, Greg, and the kids and everything. We took off. I went way up in the mountain. I mean, I went so far up, like we got signal on the phones, and we had a few things. We found a few things. I sent you the pictures. I think I sent you the pictures, didn't I?
You sent me some, yeah.
And some of them. Man, we had some activity, and then when we got back down, we found out that you had activity over in our other area, and I'm like, okay, cool. At least both sides, different area. We both got activity, and that's good.
Yeah.
You got something. I know one distinctive place that we did get was a nice little place. It's a little camp. It was like a pull off. I went down there checking a tree out, and I was like, the way it looked like Mother Nature almost took it. But Greg went down further, and it was actually interlooped with another tree. Well, then there's a rock pile up on the hill there where we parked at. We was walking down that way. We found, well, Greg walked across it and saw this just a big grass, but in the middle was something was laying there. Flattened it out, grass was flattened out, and I'm going, okay. Well, as you shine the light on the gravel lot, just kind of going around, I wasn't inspecting it. You can, I wish it'd been probably hard as heck to cast one. There was a distinctive footprint. I mean, I couldn't get a picture of it because the gravel was just, it was camouflaged in a way, but seeing it right in front of me, you can definitely see it was a Bigfoot going, something shooting off in the back, getting out of there, in which we followed it and found um, what's that one? What's that? What they call them? Ninja Dave.
Oh, ground sticks.
Found the ground stick and was sitting there, and it was pretty cool, man. And I was like, God, I can't get a picture of it. And I tried so much, and it would not come out right. And I was like, okay, the gravel's hiding, and I can't. There's nothing I can do. But everybody saw it. I mean, we had enough witnesses there. The scene is like that. I mean, you could see the foot. So it was pretty cool. Which we did find something that did disturb me a little bit. It's bothered me, or not bothered me bad, but on the way back, we found a brand new tree break straight up on the road, and we stopped and investigated it. Well, I seen a dog print. I kid you not. I'm not making this up. It was a mid-sized dog print, and just ahead of it was this big print of a bear print, basically one paw into the other paw, just like how the bears do. You can see it was a massive bear print. I was like, why is there a dog print right behind this bear? And I know there wasn't nobody hunting bear up there. And then me and Greg stepped down a little bit from there to see if we can find another one. We found another spot where there was another print of a bear. And then we found the tree where he basically was doing his claws. and it was fresh. So I was like, okay, let's if it's this fresh, let's back out because we could be backing a bear into a corner here. Let's just back up. But yeah, there was a mid-sized dog print, dude.
Wow.
I was like, okay, that's a print. That's a dog print. That's a legit dog print. Like what? I mean, I was like, okay, maybe it's somebody walking a dog and stepped over here. But this was bigger than a domestic dog. And this is big, a big print. It may be from coyote, from wolf, in between it, mid-size. It was a good print. I couldn't get a picture of it because it was so close to the grass right there. It was just covered up, but you move the grass by and you could see it. But yeah, I was in the bear track and I was like, okay, it's too close. I think looks too fresh. Let's back up before we get attacked or something. Something might be just in the gully there and we don't know it and we can't see it. So, but we came back. But yeah, we had a few little bit. So it was a good time. I was impressed. I had a good time. I was good time having kids, and which they did get a little scared, which figures.
Yeah,
it was
good.
good.
I'm glad that you got to bring the family out, so they got to see a little bit about what we do when we go out there. Even though the Squatch Out wasn't a good representation of what we do, we didn't do a whole lot of investigating. It was more of a meet and greet type. Just friends getting together type thing. But yeah, I was glad to see that they got out there. And just so everybody knows, we're planning on doing it again next year. We're going to try to do it every year that we're able to. And we have help. We have a lady that we met there that is going to help us organize it and try to make it a little bit better next year. And that's your goal with anything, if you can make it each year, do it a little bit better. That's what you want to do.
Yep.
But man, we're 17 and a half minutes in and we hadn't even brought our guest.
Yeah, let's get him on here.
Tonight we are glad to bring back Mr. Don Neal for part 2. If you guys remember, he might not have been the last guest that we had on. Maybe he was. Might have been one since him. But he came on and did a really good show, and we weren't able to completely finish with him, and you guys still had questions for him. So we were talking to him tonight before we come on. He's got some more encounters to share with us. So I guess Walls is ready. So, and that being the case, we will go ahead and bring him on. Don, how's it going, buddy?
Greetings. I'm doing well, brother. Thank you.
Good deal, man. I know I've already done it once, but I want to do it again. Just thank you for taking the time to come on and hang out with us this evening.
It's my honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. Thank you, sir. Again, just to refresh people's memories, just tell everyone who you are and what organization you're a part of, and just, if you want to go into an encounter or two, just go ahead, buddy. The show is yours.
All right. Well, I'm a nobody, but I've been lucky enough to get to do some Bigfoot research. I'm a licensed and ordained minister, and I have been for 50 years. And so I have a church here in Kentucky, and I've started several churches throughout the states. But anyway, always had an interest since I was 17 years old in Bigfoot. And off and on, I guess I was an amateur researcher and didn't realize it. But anywhere I'd go, I've preached in 38 states and 2 foreign countries. And so I've always, whenever I was out, of course, I was preacher in the nighttime, but at daytime, I'd meet people and I'd say, hey, have you ever had any interesting stories? I always love stories, and of all different things, but especially Bigfoot. And it was just ironic how I'd be in Upper New York preaching Lancaster, New York, and speak to loggers who work in the woods, and they say, yeah, we've seen Bigfoot tracks, or we've seen a Bigfoot. And I'd say, tell me more. What I would give if I had just started writing all this down, I had no idea. It was just a passing interest while I was preaching. Then I'd go out to far west Texas back in the early 70s and spoke to cowboys who still rode the range. They would stay out for weeks at a time, riding the range, mending fences. And I would ask them, what are some of the weirdest things? And I'd hear, coyote stories and stuff. And they'd say, oh, yeah, we saw Bigfoot. And so, and that's awesome. And then I'd be down in Florida. I was in Ocala, Florida, and helped start a church there, and spoke to a park ranger from the Ocala National Forest and asked him what was one of the weirdest things he'd ever seen in the forest, and heard some great bear stories and stuff. And then he saw, Bigfoot. And so it's unbelievable how many times that happened to me as I traveled in 36 states and into Mexico and Canada. And I'd find people that had a Bigfoot encounter. Little did I know that years later, back in 2007, I actually settled to a church where I pastor now, and I'm going to finish out my years here. And there was a group called the KBRO, the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, kind of built on the basis of the BFRO, except they only deal with the state of Kentucky, and they were needing a researcher. So, I wanted to be with the BFRO. I did a research expedition with them back in 2009 at Standing Stone State Park, but I just couldn't go all over the states. I was a full-time minister, and I'm busy as I can be. But this group for Kentucky Bigfoot Research would let me research right here in Kentucky, as a matter of fact, in my area of Western Kentucky. So they allowed me to join, and I became one of their lead investigators and researchers, and we take reports all the time. The Kentucky Bigfoot Research Center is one of the largest Bigfoot research groups in the state of Kentucky. We have a website, if I may share that.
Yeah, go ahead.
www.KentuckyBigfoot, spell it out, KentuckyBigfoot.com. And we have a listing of every report, over 300 reports at this time that we have taken here in Kentucky. Of 120 counties here in the state of Kentucky, we have sightings from 98 of 120 counties. So Bigfoot is all over Kentucky. But we get reports practically weekly, and we go out and investigate each one we can. I take care of the Western Kentucky area. But anyway, that's how I got into it. And so I could say that I've been unprofessionally doing research since the 70s, but I never got into it seriously and big time, full time as I can until 2007. And then it's just it's unbelievable how many reports we get all the time here in Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. And just refresh my memory, if I remember right, you have not yourself had a Class A sighting. Is that correct?
No, I'm still living for that day. And somebody asked me, what makes you believe in Bigfoot if you've never seen one? And of course, I like to tell people I believe in God, and I've not seen him either. But I'll tell you why I believe. Now, I have found hair. We've had hair samples we sent off. It came back unknown hominid. We found scat that we sent off, and it came back unknown species. I found awesome footprints. I have casted some awesome footprints, 17, 18-inch long footprints. I've seen eye shine. I've been howled at, growled, whistled. I have had a tree pushed over very close to me one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and heard it run off bipedally through the woods. I'm trying to think of hoops. I've had just about every experience you can have, but none of those reasons, even those footprints, even that scat and hair, is not why I believe. I personally have interviewed over 100 witnesses through the years, and from the richest to the poorest of people, from business owners to people that didn't go to school and couldn't sign their name, from young teenager children that have had sighting to a 100-year-old woman who had sighting, and all walks of life, all social standing, people that were rich and had lots of money, and people that here in Kentucky we say were so poor they didn't have a pot or a window. And all of them describing the same exact 7 to 8 foot hair covered creature walking upright, swinging its arms, and the grouse. And these witnesses, I've had them cry. I've had them break down crying, talking to me. I've had to stop and let them have time to get themselves put back together. I've had full grown men, bigger than any of us, big old tears come down their eyes. I love to tell my famous Bubba story. He was a mountain of a man, one of the biggest men I've ever seen. And he put his finger in my face and said, "You better not laugh at me, preacher." I said, "Oh, no, I'm not going to laugh." And he told his story, tears coming down his eyes, and told how he saw this Bigfoot and wet himself. And, a man that's not going to lie and make himself embarrassed. He's not going to lie on himself. And older, Pentecostal holiness church people. I'm a church man. I relate to church people. That people that don't say shoot or darn, they think that's cussing. They sure ain't gonna lie and tell you a story of seeing a Bigfoot and say my hand on the Bible. I believe those people. So I believe in Bigfoot because of those people. But I got to tell you, you said something about getting a thermal camera. One of the single, in my opinion, this is my opinion, one of the single greatest pieces of research equipment a person can have is a thermal camera. I have had 2 and possibly 3 awesome hits on what I absolutely believe was Bigfoot, and all 3 times has been dark of night in the deepest of woods on my thermal camera. And these creatures, it's just amazing to me that people say, well, if they're out there, I ought to see them. No, they don't understand Bigfoot at all. Their entire existence, their entire, to live, they must stay unseen. They know, I believe they know with all their heart that mankind is the worst enemy. To be seen and known will absolutely ruin their species. And we have videos. Charlie Raymond has the most awesome video I always love to talk about, that they were in a park, a national park. It was dark at night. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. They had a group on a little trail, and they kept hearing noise 40, 50 yards off the trail in pitch darkness. And when he turned his thermal camera on, he captured Bigfoot and possibly 2 creatures. They were down on the ground underneath the brush, crawling, belly crawling like you see Army soldiers do. They were crawling in the ground. They didn't have to. They could have been standing up and walking through those woods, and this group of people would not have seen them. So even in the deep, darkest woods, when they couldn't be seen, they got down and belly crawled. These creatures are the masters of the woods. They're the masters of camouflage and being hid. And I believe when you see one, they choose to let you see them, or it's by accident. But you're not going to just traipse out into the woods and find a Bigfoot. And they're just amazing. And I like to tell people, a funny perspective, I believe that when it comes to being in the woods, they are smarter and more intelligent than we are. Now, they can't dial a phone, a cell phone. They can't play on a computer. I don't mean that. But when you get out into the woods, you're in their territory. And I don't believe the best Green Beret or the best Navy SEAL or Army Ranger could match them when it comes to being in the woods. They're just unbelievable. So much so that, I don't want to get too touchy. Some people say they disappear, or they're there and they're not there. I believe they're the masters of camouflage. And in those woods, they can be right there in front of you, and then they can be gone just like that. They are just the most amazing, unbelievable creatures. I love it. I want to see one day. But even if I don't, I love all the experiences that I've got to have being a researcher investigator.
Hey, amen. You said it perfectly right there, and I agree with you 100% and 110 if that's possible. If I never see one, I've never had a Class A. Walls have never had a Class A. As far as a daytime, 100% sighting, and like you said, if it never happens, I'll be fine with it. And
Absolutely.
I'm still a knower. I know that they're out there. And the reason, a big reason I'll be fine with it is just meeting people like you and meeting others like the people that came on our expedition, because I've met people that I never would have gotten a chance to meet if I hadn't started doing this.
What kind of class would you put it in and me touching a Bigfoot's butt?
What kind of class is that, Don?
I don't know where you'd class that at.
Don, I don't think
Wow.
Don's familiar with that story. There's actually meaning behind that, Don.
Okay.
Jasper, years ago, he was camping. I'm gonna give the short version because Jasper was camping with his 2 young sons here in Southeast Tennessee on Nickajack River. And they had went to bed. The youngest boy fell asleep. Him and the older boy were awake, and something came and sat on the edge of their tent.
Wow.
In the middle of the night, and he felt it and gave it a little push and poked it with his knife, and it wouldn't move. And we don't know what it is. He has no idea what it could have been. It's not behavior of a deer or a cow.
No, not at all.
And so that's why he says it, and we all say we might have the only person on earth that has grasped a Bigfoot's butt.
Well, I guarantee you're top of the chart, and nobody else can equal that.
I told everybody at the thing I'm gonna get a shirt made saying, "Hi, I'm Jasper. I touched Bigfoot's butt." So I just gotta figure out how to trademark it and everything so nobody steals it.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that?
But Donna, I did want to ask you something that you just touched on a minute ago. Yeah, you said that you have heard people talk about, they were there 1 minute and then they were gone, like disappearing. What do you think that is? Do you think that there's anything to that? And I'm talking about cloaking. Or do you think that they're just so camouflaged?
There are so many different theories in this world of Bigfoot, just like there is in the world of religion. There's so many churches, and I don't believe God's into that. If God's against anything, he's against. We've went into so many different branches of religion there. But anyway, we do. So you got to walk carefully. And I never want to be offensive, but if I tell anything less than what I feel is the truth, I'm a liar. Mm-hmm. So I won't make fun of anybody. I don't discount anybody. If any of your viewers are on here, I'm not here to doubt you. I just don't believe that they go invisible. Now, I base that, and I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying right now, from where I'm standing in my research, I don't see that. Again, they're the masters of camouflage. I've watched some interesting videos, and I have a presentation I do at a lot of our expeditions and on a screen, and I post about 20 different pictures with full-grown wild animals out in the wild standing there, and I ask the audience, find them in this picture. I'm talking about an elephant, a giraffe, a lion, a tiger, and they are in those woods, and those people most of the time, they can't find them. They're right there. I also have a video of a certain octopus under the ocean that can change. It's unbelievable. Science is baffled at if he's on rocks, he turns into his skin, his body looks like rocks, looks like sandy ground. He can go into a coral reef. He changes. It'll be amazing to look up on YouTube. It's amazing. And he'll change to the very color and pattern of that coral reef. And as he moves along, he's like a chameleon. He changes colors. I've been a deer hunter, not no great deer hunter. I've had many experiences in my life where I've had my scope and I see the deer coming and I know he's going to step over here in this opening and I'm going to take him down, and all of a sudden that deer's gone. And I'm thinking, I know he was just there, and I look and I scan the woods and I look at my scope, and that deer, if I was a bet man, would have bet you that he disappeared. Maybe directly after a few minutes, I'd see him flag his tail and I go, oh, there he is. But when he stopped, he was so blended in with the surroundings that I would have swore had he not left and I saw his tail flag that he disappeared. I believe that Bigfoot are so awesomely masters of camouflage and masters of evasion that they seem like a ghost. I really believe that. And there's a great story. I'm trying to think of which website. I like to give credit to people. But there's an amazing story of a turkey hunter who would sit out on the ridge. Two ditches came, one from the left and right. And right out in front of him, the ditches met. And then they went off away. So it was three points. I hope I'm using the right terminology. These two ditches entered and went into a third ditch. So he's on the ridge and he's perfectly covered deer. He's got his face painted. His gun is camouflaged. He's sitting there. You literally, when he's sitting still, you should not be able to see him. And he hears a noise coming out from the left side in his peripheral vision. He sees something coming down the ditch and he's thinking, man, this is either a bear or a big old deer. It's big. He can tell. And as it comes on into his view, walking in this ditch, swinging its arms, walking on 2 feet, 7.5 foot tall. He said the color of its hair was like a tree trunk. Its body was colored just like a tree trunk, the brownish, reddish. And here's the amazing thing. Now he said, I'm sitting on the gun's aim. I know it can't see me. I'm told, even his eyes is colored. He's camouflaged. You got to get this picture. And he said it was walking along, and when it got in front of him, it stopped. And he said it stuck its nose in there and sniffed it. He said, by George, that thing knew I was there. And he said, I was so camouflaged, there's no way he could see me, but he sniffed the air. And he said he just froze mid-stride, one arm in front, one arm in back. Now listen, the man said, I'm standing there watching him and, I'm checking my surroundings. And he said, when I looked back, it was gone. It was gone. He said, my God, it disappeared. And he said, I'm just baffled at what I saw. And he said, directly, it moved its arm a little bit. And he said, I realized it was still in front of me in that ditch. But when it stopped, it blended in so good with the surrounding, like the bark of a tree. He said, I literally lost the sight of its silhouette, of its outline. And the man said, I thought it had became invisible. So I always point to that. And again, maybe if they turn invisible, I don't know anything about it. But that story just took me over the top. The man said it looked like it disappeared. It turned and looked straight at him to end the story. It looked straight at him. And he said, I have still not even blinked. And it turned around and went down the ditch going straight away from him. And the hunter got up and went home. So I always like to use that story and say that I don't know if they can disappear. And I do that because I think Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature. I believe in spirits. I'm a minister. I don't mean to get off the wrong track. I've had exorcisms in my life. I've cast demons out of people. That doesn't make me anybody. I don't like the experience. It makes those TV shows look like a Sunday school room. It's not anything you want to play with. I have seen spirits. I've dealt with spirits. I believe in spirits more than I believe in Bigfoot. Come on, I believe in a Bible where donkeys talk and axe heads float. So come on, I'm pretty well open-minded. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe Bigfoot is a spirit because it leaves poop, it leaves hair, and it leaves footprints.
Yep.
And any spirits I've dealt with don't do that or have to do that. But again, I don't want to offend any of your watchers or listeners or you fellas. I think they're masters of camouflage. Now, if I ever see one stand in front of me and it disappears, I'll be back on there and say, oops, I was wrong. They disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly, and I agree with you, what you said. Now, since you did speak a little bit about being, a man of God and minister, I do have a question here from a dude from Texas. Okay. He wants to know, does Don believe in the Nephilim theory on these creatures? So, I'm a little interested to see what you have to say about that myself.
Well, I've really studied on that and thought about that. I absolutely believe the Nephilim. The Bible said there was a time when the sons of God came down from God and knew the daughters of men, and they bore children that were men of great renown. They were unbelievable physical strength, and they had unusual characteristics, and there's a lot of story that goes into that. I've studied the Aramaic Hebrew of the Bible. The Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, was written in Aramaic Hebrew. Even a lot of people who study Hebrew don't know Aramaic Hebrew. It's the oldest known writing in mankind, and it tells that they had children that were bodies of part of a man and part of creatures. I believe that's where a lot of our Greek gods and those emblems of a man's body and a bird-looking head and a lion head on a man's body, they were men of great strength, great renown. And then the Bible says, and there were giants in the land. Doesn't necessarily mean Nephilim, but there were giants in the land. Of course, Goliath, one of the famous giants from the Bible, Goliath had 4 brothers who were bigger than he was. The Bible says that Goliath was 9 feet 9 inches, and one of his brothers slept on a bed that was 13 feet long. And so I believe in all of that. Now, I believe in Cain. A lot of people think they're descendants of Cain, Bigfoot. A lot of people say they're descendants of Esau, who was a hairy man. A lot of people say they're descendants of Edomites. All these are biblical stories that are true. At this time, please understand that this Bigfoot research, every day, we should agree to this. Every day, we're all learning. There's no professionals in this Bigfoot field. I don't mean to offend nobody. There's no professionals. Every one of us are learning. And the more questions you seek, and the more answers you find, the more answers you seek, the more questions you find. But I cannot find, let me get to this question. I cannot find a connection. Apparently, the Nephilim, they were drowned in Noah's flood. I cannot see in my Bible any connection after that. Now, there were giants in the land after that, but I don't know about the Nephilim connection. But there were giants because David killed Goliath way after the flood. So it could be. It very well could be. I believe in Nephilim completely. The antediluvian age is the proper name for it, but I don't know if that's where Bigfoot's from. I can't place that just yet. I don't believe, let me throw this in there, I don't believe a Bigfoot is an ape. When I first got into this, I thought, my thinking was, well, this is a North American bipedal ape as yet undiscovered, probably a descendant of Gigantopithecus blackie. I wasn't in it about 3 months and talked to witnesses and explained the very human-like face. I've had them described to me as looking European with European nose, looking like American Indian, looking like African American, but absolutely human. The hooded nose and the expression. They've winked at people. They've showed their teeth and showed their displeasure at people. And so I don't believe they're a gorilla anymore. I absolutely believe that they are some type of hominid, somewhere in there. They're a flesh and blood creature, and I believe closely related to human. Now that's me.
Okay, so you don't think that they're an ape, and you don't think that they're not fully human. Do you kind of think maybe a missing link, or are they a different race of people, or? Well, in your opinion, obviously.
I'm so excited that recently science has been learning that there were so many offshoots of humans. We thought Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, but now they're finding other ones they're having to give new names to, and so many different kinds. And it could be an offshoot of one of those that we just didn't know about. Now, I hate to bring up, there's a lot of hatred in the Bigfoot community, fellas. I hate that. I don't associate that with. I'm not trying to be a holier than thou, but I try to be a good man, and I'm not into this fighting and bickering. But I'm going to mention it. I really respect Melba Ketchum. I respect her as an analyst and for what she does. I mean, Melba Ketchum has done blood DNA that help win court cases, and law enforcement respects her. And her evidence showed that, and I hope I get this right, the nuclear DNA, I believe that's the mitochondrial DNA. I hope I get this right. Your audience will know. Anyway, I shouldn't even start into that. But the DNA, the mitochondria that comes from the mother, goes to human female.
Uh-huh.
But the nuclear DNA, if I got that correct, and it could be opposite, goes back to an unknown hominid, unknown species. So and that's the DNA sample. So, somewhere back there, he could be an offshoot of a species of man that we're just now finding out about. They just recently found 3-foot pygmy bones on an island out in the ocean, a species they had never had a record of. It never had found the bones of them, but we have now. So I've always liked to say this: God always will keep man in suspense. We don't know half of what we think we know, and I love that. So yes, I believe it could be partly human somewhere back along the way that inbred with a human woman, which the mother DNA, the mother side, shows it is human female.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I have all the respect in the world for Melba. I've never met her, never spoken to her. Hope one day that I'll get the chance. I've heard that she's really, really guarded in who she talks to because of all the crap that she's taken from that study. And I mean, you hit it right on the head. She was an expert witness, and
Absolutely.
Anybody that knows anything about the law, I mean, not just anybody can be an expert witness. You have to be the best of the best, and you have to know everything there is to know about your subject. About your profession, and she has been called on dozens, if not hundreds, of times.
Yeah, that's what people
the court
forget.
Of law.
That's what people forget. They judge her by what she's done in the Bigfoot world. She was a DNA scientist long before Bigfoot came along. And again, I read a book on some of her background, and she proved many cases. Her DNA expertise is highly favored and thought of in the court system. And matter of fact, to take on the subject of Bigfoot, she took a great risk and almost has ruined her name, just like Dr. Jeff Melder when he took on the study of Bigfoot. So we forget these people make sacrifices. We're all just men and women trying to find out a creature that a lot of the world don't even believe is real. It's like we're chasing a fairy tale. And, there's so few of us, we shouldn't turn on each other. We should try to get along with each other. And I can sit around in a fire with people. Somebody says he came from a spaceship. He's alien. Somebody says he's a time traveler. Somebody says he come from another dimension. I can sit right there and get along and squatch with them, not argue. They have their right to believe that way, and let me believe my way. But I want to throw this in there. Preacher always got to be preaching. I won't take up an offering, though. That I don't know what a Bigfoot is, but I know who made it. I know who its creator is. Amen. It's not here if God didn't create it.
Amen. That's what I tell people that ask me about this, because I've talked about how the Lord has been working in my life over the last couple of years, and how my life has improved and everything. And when people ask me about how can you go out there and look for this monster, and this thing is a monster, and I just tell them I'm out there looking for another one of God's creations. It's another creation, another creature that God put on this earth, and we don't know a lot about him. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. We're out there trying to figure some stuff out. That's all we're doing.
Again, you didn't bring me on for the Bible, but the Bible said in the last days, and boys, I believe, if I ever believed before, I believe we're living in the last days. If this ain't the last days, I'm missing a good chance to be the last day. But the Bible said in the last days there'd be great signs and wonders, men's heart failing them for fear. And it actually says one part of the Bible that mankind would be left with their mouth agape, just in awe of the things we're realizing. Recently the United States government has started to admit that UFOs are real. Who would have 20 years ago? You and I would laugh at each other for saying that, but the military is admitting that these are visitors from outer space. And so I believe the day will come. I really do, that a Bigfoot will be exposed. It'll be a lot of redemption for people who's called us lunatics and crazies. That's okay. But it's all part of the end times, when God said that men's hearts would fail for fear and stand in awe with our mouth agape, that we didn't know all we thought we knew. I believe there's another place in the Bible said in the last days we'll have the veil removed and we'll see things as they are. In the Hebrew, that means there'll be great mysteries revealed that we never would have believed. So I go back to UFOs, and it won't surprise me at all if Bigfoot does. I won't be shocked.
That's true. I mean, I can agree with that 100% with the UFO thing. So, I mean, you have the Pentagon was the one that came out with it saying, yeah, it's a unidentified object. We don't know what that is. And I'm sitting there, okay. Even though we had our little turn with the Green Berets up in Blue Ridge, said that one magic word, hey, if you've seen Bigfoot, and, they all turned their demeanor a totally different way. Like, oh, we're just going to leave in 30 minutes, and turned out, they're going to spend the night.
Yeah.
I mean, about that, Don?
What now?
Did we ever tell you about that? Do you know what he's talking about?
No.
Just this quick, briefly. Our group, Mannimal Research, we were up on an expedition in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia, and got visited by the United States Army. We heard rapid gunfire out in the distance, and they were doing a training mission out there. And a couple of Humvees rolled up on us, and a young soldier gets out and introduces himself and talks to us. And for 5 minutes, he's standing there, smile on his face. Everything's great, getting along wonderfully. And our buddy there, Walls, Jasper, finally gets comfortable enough to say, well, I'll go ahead and ask you, we're Bigfoot researchers. We're up here on an expedition. Have you guys run across anything? And his demeanor completely changed. He went on lockdown. One of the things he told us was, in 30, 45 minutes, we'll be out of here. We'll be out of your hair. You won't even know we were here. And it went from being gone in 30 minutes to them staying the entire night.
Wow.
They stayed with us. They built a fire. They were loud and obnoxious, and they just made it really hard on us while we were there. We were going to stay there 2 nights, ended up staying just that night, and we left.
Yeah, you let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you my interesting theory on that. I did a study about 4 years ago, just about for myself, and it's unbelievable that on many of the military bases, there have been Bigfoot sightings while they were having war games, while they were doing practices and running, and the soldiers are told immediately, you're not going to meet anybody else. And those soldiers, most of them don't till they get away or get you later on, years later, they'll share this. Also, Charlie Raymond has the leader of the KBRO. He's our leader and founder of the KBRO. He has a lot of contacts. He has a contact with a man who's a doctor. I believe he's former military. I'll get that close to being right. And he told Charlie that the military absolutely knows about Bigfoot, and they call them Species 5. And they designate them Species 5. Of course, Charlie said, I'd like to know who the other 4 species was. Well, who's 1, 2, 3, and 4? But an interesting story with the KBRO. About 2 years ago, Charlie got a hold of me and said, I've been contacted by a man from Fort Knox. He was in Fort Knox before in the military. Let me get it straight. And he called me and said he wants to share a story with me, and I can't share it until later. And here's the story. The man called and said that while he was at Fort Knox, and he gave his rank and what group he was in, and you could tell from talking to him, he knew his military lingo. And I won't get it straight, but I'll tell you the gist of the story. Fort Knox is a large, huge military base, and there's a lot of woods. And marijuana growers, pot growers, will sneak on there and grow pot in the most secluded, dense woods of the military base. And so they have the state police come in, the military helps them, and they go through and eradicate these pot fields. I can't believe that, growing on a military installation. What Braden is something or did. But anyway, he said this particular day, the state police were there in a helicopter, and they were flying over, and he and his group, they had 2 vehicles. I believe it was a Humvee and then there was a troop carrier, and they were all loaded. He said we were locked and loaded, weapons hot, and we were going around finding the helicopter would say, I have a hot spot over here. They'd come in and use chemicals. They'd burn the pot and get rid of it. They were armed in case some people protect those fields, are armed. Of course, they wouldn't stand up against the military, but they weren't playing games. So this particular day, the helicopter pilot says, be aware, we've got heat signatures up here. We've got 5 or 6 heat signatures. And the sergeant said, top this hill. And they sped up this hill. And when they topped the hill, this guy says, all of us just took our breath away what we saw. And he said there was the leader. He said immediately he knew it was like the father figure, a male figure, 7 to 8 foot, had to weigh 800 pounds, a muscular, unbelievable, muscle-built male creature standing there. On the ground was what he took to be a female creature. It had pendulous breast. It had breast. It was plain. It was a female. And her leg was caught in a bear trap. The pot growers, they put out bear traps around their pot fields to catch people and keep you from getting their pot field. This mother, he took it to be a female, had caught its leg in this trap. He didn't know how long they'd been there, but she had been fighting to get out of it so long that her leg was almost completely detached. It was barely hanging on. Then beside them were 2, what he could only guess, 5 to 6 foot tall juveniles. They were solid black in color, and they were just running around just in chaos and flapping their arms. And then there was a small little one like a baby. He took it to be like a baby that kept running to the mother, and the mother was pushing it away. She kept pushing it away, especially when the soldiers topped the hill. And he said the big one turned and came to him 2 or 3 steps and just expanded his chest and just growled this unbelievable growl. And their sergeant said, he said, go hot, go hot. Anyway, that meant to fire. And he said, we had 6 to 8 men that had these M16s. And he said, we just started unloading. And he said, you could see the bullet hit them and the purple dust would come out the other side of the head, start shooting them through the head, shooting them in the body. So we shot the female, we shot the male. He said, we shot the juveniles. He said, and the little baby took off running and ran into the woods. Just like I said, it was just like it could barely get going, and it got off the woods. When they got on, he said, we had killed these 4 creatures. And the biggest one, he said, we went up and looked at it, and it was a human in the face, but it was absolutely like the body of a gorilla. So they take all the soldiers back to the base, and when they get there, they make them go in and take a shower. They collect all their clothing. He said, we never saw our clothing again. They make them take a shower. They gave them some special chemicals to wash in. They brought them out some different kind of clothes. And he's using this Army lingo. They took them in a room, and they were debriefed and told that none of you better ever share what happened today. What happened today better not leave your lips. You better not ever tell about this. He told that a large black 18-wheel truck came up there on the private black trailer and a black truck, and they picked up those bodies and put it in the truck and took it off. And they were told never to say anything. So we're blown away by this story. We just, wow. So Charlie says, okay, I'm trying to believe your story, but you were told never to share this story. What made you share it now? And he said, I'm dying of stage 4 cancer. I've only got weeks to live, and I want to tell somebody this story before I die. He said, what can they do to me now? And Charlie recorded his conversation and made a vow to him that he would never release it until after the man died. Not long ago, the gentleman died, and Charlie is going to release that phone recording of his entire story, told in that military lingo. I mean, just he hit it to a T. But now, the military knows. They know exactly what these things are, that there's creatures. I don't know, they know exactly what they are. But that story is mind-blowing.
It really is. That's awesome. And, speaking that the government, we both think that the government knows about these things. I told the same story that I just told you about what happened to us in Blue Ridge. I told it to Ken Gerard when he was on our show last year. And he told us about a gentleman that he interviewed for one of his books that was in the Army and was stationed in Georgia and did their testing in North Georgia. And he said in their field manual, it says what to do if you encounter a Sasquatch.
How about that? I believe that absolutely. I believe, and there's just too many stories. I don't live right where I'm sitting. I'm not 8 miles from a National Guard base, the Wendell H. Ford Center. where they train helicopter pilots. And there's been stories there. It's in a deeply wooded area and some old stripper mines where there used to be coal mines, and they closed them down in that area. And I do a lot of squatching there on the mines, not on the Army post. But anyway, there's reports of National Guardsmen being out at night on patrol and seeing these creatures on that property. And it could go on and on. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, Fort Lee, Virginia, other places, stories of the soldiers, on patrol. The helicopter pilots in the helicopter get thermal hits, and this creature's running through the woods, is setting off the motion detectors. They know. I believe they know.
Yeah, I think you're right. Don. We're coming up on an hour here, and family in there hollering for me. But if you have one more encounter that you would like to share, just an interesting one, maybe a Class A sighting that you would share, I'm sure that our listeners would appreciate it.
All right. Well, this story, though we deal with Kentucky, we had a man who lived in far western Kentucky, and the Ohio River separates, and he's just like one of many. He lives in Kentucky, but he owns some property right across the river, which would have been southern Illinois. And so many times they'll take their boat and go across the river to get to their property across the river, sometimes farmland. This gentleman contacted me. He is a fishing guide and a hunting guide, and he's very well known in that area of western Kentucky. And he called me very upset. He said, I'd like for you to come and look at some property. I've had an unusual experience. His voice was cracking and breaking. And I said, yes, I'll meet you in Paducah, Kentucky, which is the last, after Paducah, you cross the river, you're in Illinois. And I said, I'll meet you with a fellow investigator and we'll go over there. And he said, no, I won't go over there, but I'll give you directions. So we met this man in the parking lot, 6'3" or 6'4", maybe 280, 290 pounds, a huge man, barrel chested, big fella. And when he got out of the car, I'll never forget, he was shaking his hands. He was wringing his hands. He was shaking. And I said, calm down, sir. And he told me his name. I said, tell me your story. And he told me this story, and I want to just jump and tell this. And when we got ready to go, I said, come on, let's go over there. It's about 2 hours before dark. We'll look around for sign, and then we'll stay the night and listen, do a few calls, stay 3 or 4 hours. And he just got beside himself and went to his car. And he said, I'm not going. I won't go over there ever again. And I said, look, I don't want to go to your property. I don't want to follow directions. Come and go with us. We're both armed, and we're not armed for Bigfoot, but I'm trying to make him feel better. And finally talked the man into going. When we got to the property, and this all adds to the story, when we got to the property, I didn't think he was going to get out of the vehicle. Me and a fellow researcher named Don Atkins, he's with the BFRO, we got there, and I didn't think he was going to get out of the vehicle. He was literally shaking. This big man, 6'3", 6'4", I would say, almost 300 pounds, and not fat. He was shaking, and I'll never forget this day, him doing this. And so he said, I'm going to get out of the car, but I don't know about staying in the dark. But here's his story. He had been over there with his coon dog. He had been coon hunting. A lot of people get mad at this story because people are animal lovers, and so am I. But I also understand hunters. So there's a part of this story I'll get on real quick. He was there to hunt. He let the tailgate down. He said this dog usually wouldn't stay in the doghouse. It would jump out before the tailgate would come down. He let the tailgate down, and the dog is hunkered in the back of the box. And he's saying, what's wrong with you, boy? Come on out of there. Is he sick? And he reaches there and grabs him by the collar and pulls him out. And the dog stands up on the tailgate shaking. And he said it's like he didn't want to leave the truck and go hunting. The man said, I've never believed in Bigfoot in my life. He said, I thought the dog's sick or he's just not wanting to hunt. So he grabs him by the collar and throws him out of the truck. Some people, that just tears him up. It's just a hunter. He loves his dog, but he wants him to hunt. If you don't hunt, he's going to get rid of him. And the dog takes off and goes just a little ways and keeps coming back. And I'll shorten the story 2 or 3 times. This dog, and so he kicks at the dog and says, get out there and hunt. So the dog finally reluctantly goes off. And I know that kills animal lovers. I'm sorry. I'm just telling the story. And so the dog goes on out and it hunts about 5 minutes. And he hears it go, and just an unbelievable yelping screech. And then he goes calling for the dog and the dog doesn't come back. So he turns on his light, his wheat light, his coon hunting light, and he goes walking along and he walks up on his favorite coon dog, big money dogs, by the way, if y'all know anything about that. And he said, I walked up to the back legs and the hind end and the back legs and half of the body. And then for about 4 feet was its entrails, its guts laid out, and then to the front where the front legs and the head and the neck were. And something had literally grabbed the dog and just ripped it apart and dropped it where it was. And he said for 3 feet from the back end to the front of the dog was all of its entrails. And he said, I'm thinking, what has happened? My mind just can't comprehend. And he said, I heard a noise and I turned my light up. And he said, I hit the eyes of a creature about 8 foot tall. It had a hand on each limb standing back into the corner of the woods, and it just let out a blood-curdling scream, tilted its head back, and let a blood-curdling scream. And the man said, I wet myself. I wet myself. I've had this account told to me, wetting yourself, the 3 or 4 men, I mean big men. But this man, and I've got a video of this. I've got a YouTube page, D. Neal, under D. Neal, and I have a lot of witness interviews. I videotape the eyewitnesses. This man's telling the story and almost breaks down in tears there. And he tells, I wet myself. And he said, I looked into the eyes of a creature. I had no idea what it was, never believed in it, never knew anything about it. And he said he got out of there. And the man, when it got dark, we did stay about an hour. And I thought he was going to have a nervous breakdown. We had to take him out of there. But that thing killed his dog, ripped it in half, and made this man lose his bodily functions. But that's pretty amazing. One of my reports that I was able to do for the KBRO is pretty amazing.
Can y'all hear that in the background?
No.
What is that?
I don't know. We get good out here.
I don't know. There's something going off in the background. Y'all can't hear that?
No.
It might be coyote. Dang, I wish I had a parabolic mic set up. Yeah, y'all can't hear it. But man, that encounter, if that happened to me, it'd be time to go.
Yes, sir.
It would be time to go. That's insane. And that happened in Kentucky, you said?
He lived in Kentucky. It happened right across the Ohio River on property owned in southern Illinois. It was right across the river. We only took the report because he did live in Kentucky. We try to stay, in Kentucky. But listen, we've got 300 reports. I've spoke to over 100 witnesses. I can't believe the hour's done gone, and I don't want to be a jabbermouth. But any other time I come and tell you, my favorite stories. I do a presentation on when Bigfoot sightings coincide. I like when we get a Bigfoot sighting, and then a week later you get another sighting and find out it's just a mile from the first one, and the people didn't know each other. And then if you get a third report and it's like a half a mile away, and none of them knows the other story, that's the greatest Bigfoot report you can get. It coincides. It gives a little strength to the story because these people are seeing the same thing, and neither one knows the other saw it. And I've got several reports where I can share you that 4 or 5 reports in the same area. In a short span of time, this creature was being seen by several people. I'd love to share that someday with you.
Yeah. And if you want to, Don, we'd love to have you back, man. It seems like there's a lot more stories that you can share. So, yeah, we'd love to have you back, buddy.
Gladly. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, sir. Not at all. Like I said at the beginning, the show was yours, and you didn't talk enough, buddy. That's why we're going to have you back.
All right.
All right. Again, buddy, thank you so much for taking the time to come on, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
All right. See you, fellas.
You have a good evening, buddy. All right. What do you think about that?
Pretty good. You should have took your name and recorder with you.
I know it. I think it was coyotes.
How close to the cabins?
They're pretty close.
It's probably. Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
It's probably somebody's TV. Is that what you're saying?
No. You're in cabins. You're in.
Get your mind out of the gutter. It was. No.
You're in the cabins, dude.
Did you hear my family step around the corner and ask me if I heard it?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think it was coyotes. When we got back to the cabin, me and Jordan were driving. Baby was in the back seat, and we come across the coyote. So
that might be then.
Didn't really sound like a coyote.
Bear?
I don't know. It's got me excited now a little bit. But man, it's cold up here.
Well, yeah, you're in the mountains.
I know, but it's been warm. It's like the temperature dropped.
Yeah, it
Except
will
like
up there.
a day or so.
You will up there when you get surrounded by mountains, everything's blocked off. So that's a fun time.
All right, man. Well, say your goodbyes and we'll get out of here.
All right. Well, guys, it's good to see you guys again. Like I said, I'm gonna hopefully get some good video. Hopefully get some response up on the 8th when I go up there. Hopefully you can join us too and try to do some more stuff. I'm gonna figure a time, probably either Friday nights, like Friday nights, or probably somewhat Saturday if I'm not wrestling, and try to do some Battlefield stuff with y'all guys to get on here and get some more stuff on our show. And Wayne will be there trying to get some more guests. Guys, if you got some stories or something you want to share with that, but come on up here. Send an email to Wayne. We'll bring on the show. Tell about your story and see what happens. And I mean, anything. Don't be scared. We can hide your identity and everything. Whatever you got, we'd love to hear it. I'm sure our guests our people here would love to know about it in your area, and you'd be surprised how connection that small world we are. So
that's right.
Y'all guys have a good night tonight.
That's right. He said it perfectly. You guys got encounter. Come on down. Come on here and share it with us. I don't ever have a problem getting guests. We've just taken some time off. It hasn't been because of a lack of guests. We don't have a problem. We're coming up on 100 shows, and we haven't had any problem getting guests. But we'd love hearing these encounters. So if you guys want to come on, like a buddy there said, if you don't want your face, your name out there, we can do that. We can protect your anonymity. If you don't want anybody to know, they won't. So, just holler at us. Send us a message. Send me an email, manimalresearch@yahoo, if you guys want to come on. All right, I want to say thank you to the viewers that came on. We had a bunch of regulars. Dude from Texas, great job tonight, buddy. Had some good questions, good comments. We had Stash Man there, Mr. Kirk Seltzer there, Bobby Younts, Miss Sandra. You always count on Miss Sandra. Chelsea Stewart was there. We had the Wild Man, Blue Eyed Northern, Frank King. Guys, thank you so much for your continued support. And guys, just be good to each other. Take care of each other, and we will see you next time. See you guys.